out of my head.
So recently I rewatched a couple of my old videos, which I almost never do because I don't hate myself that much. But specifically, I rewatched a couple of the IMVU videos, and tell me why I have next to no memory of creating the music video for the Kazuha video. Like, some of the song ideas I do remember, but like the music video, I was just so confused where that came from. It almost feels like it had to have been a different person, but I've been kind of going through a bunch of my old ideas because I have a lot of stuff that I put together but never actually recorded and went through officially. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, one of my ideas. And it's basically like a project where I put together 3 different duos that are not from the same groups, and they would have their individual mini albums, and then those mini albums would come together to form a full album with these project groups. So the name for the overall project is Para-Unsympathetic. It's based off of the divisions of the peripheral nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system. But obviously it's taking the idea of this being pairs, and unsympathetic meaning we're not returning to normal, we're having some quirky concepts. And the different duos that we are including are Cosmatos, Inhale Export, and Gigi Tonsillitis. I know they're a bit quirky, like I said, and we're gonna go through them individually. So we're gonna start with Cosmatos, which I must say I made this a long time ago. If I had made it more recently, there are probably some changes that I would have made, but I kind of wanted to stay authentic to the original idea. So the duo Cosmatos is made up of Wonyoung from IVE and Yeso from Kepler and Maiden. I need to be clear, boycott Maiden, boycott Maiden. This is not me trying to promote Maiden. If anything, the opposite. Do not consume Maiden content, boycott Maiden. But Kepler's great. So for this concept, it would be a space concept, kind of slowly growing darker in tone. And I don't really have like a music video made for these groups. Instead, I have a bunch of concept lore that I'm going to go through. And so with Cosmatos, the idea is that they meet when Yeso is watching a supernova in the distance, and she has just gotten to the galaxy. It's implied that she came from the galaxy that was just destroyed. Wonyoung doesn't seem to put 2 and 2 together at first, but she figures it out before Yeso finally tells her. There are no humanoid creatures to be found in Wonyoung's galaxy, despite her not really knowing anything else, because she has a bunch of anthropology books, which she is in the middle of finishing. She had a period where she barely read, feeling overwhelmed with the sheer amount of material, but she has decided that she wants to complete her collections. Wonyoung realizes that Yeso is actually really talented at one of her hobbies, which is calligraphy, and no one realized how cool it is because it is such a human art, but neither of them put together the hints that they might not be as alien as they think they know themselves to be, and it's almost as if a godlike figure always manages to distract them just before they realize, which is introducing some absurdist humor. And that's pretty much all I have for the concept lore, at least so far. And if anyone is interested in me expanding upon these, I could definitely do it, but for now, that's it. For a fandom name, I decided on Galactics, just because I'm such a Pokemon Gen 4 fan, and also it kind of goes along with a theme that I'm going to introduce with the mini album, which is a video game-esque concept, because the mini album would be called Star Button, kind of like start button. The intro song would be hit star, like when people say hit start at the beginning of a mini game. And so within hit star, we would have building parallel structure, not using quantitative markers. There'd be glitzy diction with a pulsing rhythm and an anti-drop, as well as a busy instrumental. And then the next song would be meteor belt. So a belt for fashion could be made into something practically celestial. The speaker is a meteor saying, "Be in my belt." It's kind of about like sharing the universe. Then there would be the next song, Anapest, with lazy pacing, dazed language broken by singular stresses, and an experimental sound. And they would play with the different amounts of feet in a line, playing with names of shoes at the same time, because feet, shoes. And then the next song would be Steal, Steal, like steal the material and then steal the action. and it would have a metallic sound building to a high intensity pacing and be very action like. And there would be a line about galactics playing on the fandom name. And I wrote down in my notes that there would be the Mira Espa effect. I don't know if you guys have seen Mira's video about how Espa's sound could change K-pop, but that's kind of what I'm getting at, that there would be almost a way to enjoy the music on different axes rather than just a linear experience. I would really recommend watching that video if you don't understand what I'm talking about, or if you just haven't seen it, because it is such an interesting take on how to enjoy music. And then the next song would be Rising Sign, with a soothing instrumental, legato phrasing, warm tones, a colloquial voice, and that's kind of all I have for Cosmatos, but I really hope that that got across the idea of what I'm getting at, for this duo. And then the next duo would be Inhale Export, which I'm really excited about. This would be Yena, the soloist, and Ray from IVE. And their concept would be blending video game and traditional imagery. And their concept lore is Yena and Ray are depicted as sisters, quarreling over trying to get the other to submit to traditional roles and standards to give themselves more room to rebel within their family structure. They start to realize that they have the power to rebel together, not only by themselves, for themselves. They start to approach life like a side scroller, buffing different tools and weapons they come across and finding purpose in the spirit of fighting enemies based on Korean and Japanese mythology and folklore. Despite what they thought as they grew up, they start to like some parts of tradition, like the fashion, when they realize they can make the choice to wear it. It's not inherently flawed or demeaning to them as people. And that is the majority of the lore that I have. For the fan name, I decided on Bad Apples. I think there would be a video game reference with it, and then it would also kind of tie in to the characters that I want to portray and what they encapsulate. And the mini album itself would be called Digital Tradition. The intro song would be The Limit. It would have an 8-bit sound. There would be a lot of staccato sounds and almost clipped phrasing, a lot of direct speech but phasing in and out, not entirely clear what it's about. And the second song would be IQ, with in parentheses I Quit, and it would be very big sounding. There'd be intense production, think next level scope, and questions unfinished and obviously unanswered, and there would be a gag with ABCD, ABCD, IQ. The third song would be Bad Apple. There'd be kind of like a carousel music sample, kids shouting, "It should go faster." One kid saying, "I don't like this horsey, but it's too late." And the, and the apple biting crunch sound, and then slant rhyme couplets. And then the fourth song would be Interface. There'd be playful percussion, instrumentation, an even pace, an ontological perspective, and exclamations in the pre-chorus settled down in the chorus. And then Crisis Inverted would be the last song. It would have a hip-hop rhythm with squeaking noise and instrumentation. There would be a person stomping their feet, keeping time, but they start subdividing, and there'd be breathy singing. They think they're repeating lines, but they actually slightly alter them. So that would be Inhale Export. And then lastly, we have Gigi Tonsillitis, which is Mina from Twice and Kwon Eunbi. So the concept is magical realism. The name Gigi Tonsillitis is playing on the idea of a part of Kiki's delivery service when Gigi stops talking. The Gigi reference feels important because of the magical realism as well as the sort of setting that's going on here. And tonsillitis, I mean, it feels like an explanation for why someone would stop talking, so Gigi Tonsillitis, but also it feels like it sort of represents how the characters feel that they cannot say what they want to say throughout the story. So there's that. It's an interesting, I just think it's kind of catchy, even if it's a little strange. So like I said, magical realism, and the lore is that Mina and Eunbi make deliveries for rival bakeries, and Mina's mom predicts a very different life for her, Mina having seemingly manifested something different from her mom's tarot readings. Eunbi is funding her creativity. She was hired to paint a mural in the heart of town, and people think that it is actually a painting of Mina, getting the bakery more customers, to Eunbi's boss's dismay. Eunbi tries to hide her identity as the painter, so she is no longer closely associated with her art. Mina tries to find out who it was, but her mother figures it out first through seemingly genuinely magical means, and Mina pays Eunbi, who did not expect Mina's money at all. The painting seems to have had a spell cast on it because it starts moving, catching Eunbi off guard because she doesn't have magic of her own. And that's kind of all of the lore that I have planned so far. Again, if you want to hear more, I'd have to make more, but if anyone's interested, I could definitely explore coming up with something else. And the fan name would be Kiki's, because Kiki's delivery service, and the mini album would be called Everyday Novelty. The first song would be an intro song called Voix de Vivre, Voice of Life, and it would be a cappella. It would be long with few lyrics, sounding empty but pressurized, and the saying lines are distorted until the end. And then the next song would be Every Daily. It would be very nonchalant. There would be a mundane sound listing with A's and det in, headings at the start of stanzas, dates like a journal, subverting typical phrasing like with the title, and it starts saying crazy things in a very casual way. And the next song would be Tear Party. It could go either way. There'd be rhythmic water splatter, staccato emotional delivery. When legato, it would sound hesitant but use more specific language, and there would be parts where the water is louder than their voices. And then the next song would be plausible within parentheses, I can deny. It would be celebrating their plausible deniability and general ambiguity with a cute sound. Think Allow Me by Say My Name. And there'd be a listing with Ace and Det in, and then denied in parentheses at the end of the line, sounding robotic. And then the next song, the final song, would be Sonic Tick Tick Boom. There'd be a domino sound effect with wind over it and an ominous ticking and a low boom. And then there'd be a quick transition to a hyperpop sound with a TV turning off and on sound effect. Overall, it's a very eccentric, quirky concept. I hope that the project made some sense, but I'm not sure that it did. If anyone would like to hear more, then that is possible, but I don't know when that will be. I have a lot of projects that I just have not recorded because I have a hard time finding the motivation to record when I'm not very good at speaking. Anyway, if anyone is interested in writing resources, I do still have my Etsy up, and I will hopefully have the Kpop stationery up there soon. We will see. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you continue to have a good day. Thank you.